What's the difference between a extremely cheap Stratocaster copy, we're talking like 80 bucks or something, versus a high-end American Strat, which today is, at least to me, pretty priceless? Let's find out. So I'm not going to be talking about specs necessarily, except for the fact that this one is an HSS Strat, meaning humbucker, single coil, versus the green one, which is just 3 single coils. Build wise, I would say they're about the same weight. The green might be just slightly heavier. The thickness of the body is, yeah, that's where the difference is. Like, the green is slightly thicker than the black one. Feeling wise, they're not similar, to be perfectly honest. They're just differently made. This one has the matte finish, which just feels different, versus this one has a glossy finish, and the neck is also glossy, so the feel of that will just never be similar at all. This one has just standard cheap tuners. This one has Sperzel locking tuners, which are amazing. I love them. This one has a very special nut that has this rolling kind of metallic bar, and it's just perfect. It's so smooth. This one has just a regular plastic nut, cheap. And you know, aside from those specs, I think they're mostly, you know, similar. This is made to be a copy of a Strat anyway, so I think we should just go through a bunch of tones. Obviously there's going to be a huge difference between the bridge, since, you know, humbucker versus single coil, but still, I mean, even though that there's a humbucker and a single coil, I think that there's going to be a huge difference in terms of just the quality of the tone. So even going through similar amp tones and presets, I think there's still going to be quite a difference, at least to the player. I'm not sure how well it will translate through to this video, but we'll just see what happens. So I'm going to start off with the Harley Benton, the black guitar, in a clean setting, going through a few pickup tones. Then I'll go through the green one and we'll keep going from there. So starting off with this one, going through a bunch of clean tones. Let's see what it sounds like in a bridge position. And here's the green. Let's go through the bridge pickup. The immediate difference is that this guitar is just a lot more solid. The neck is different. That's one thing. The black neck is a lot smaller, a lot thinner, a lot slimmer. This one is chunkier. Maybe this is a bit of a chunky neck for a Strat, but this one just feels so solid and nice. Also just the feeling of, you know, fretting the notes, doing the chords, playing everything, and everything feels so solid and almost perfect. Not too perfect, like perfect in a way that it's just so good, but it's not boring. yeah, like I'm reinforcing the previous statement that this one is less solid feeling, less professional feeling, I guess. Slimmer neck, I guess the preference is just different between people, but for me the green one just feels better in my hands. Even though I usually prefer slimmer necks, but there's something just about having a quality instrument versus a cheap one in the hands. Some cheap instruments actually feel pretty good, but for this one there is a difference. Whether the difference is something that matters to you. So now we're going to try the neck pickup and see what it sounds like, and then compare it to the green one. So another thought is that the bridges are slightly different. This one has this very low profile bridge. It may seem kind of similar to the other one, but it is very low, and I honestly prefer it. It's very slick, smooth, and it doesn't dig into my hand. The other one is a little bit more of a classic one, which is fine. It's completely fine. It's just that the little screws to adjust the action of each string is a little bit longer, so they stick out a little bit more, meaning that they will kind of dig into your hand a little bit more than this one. It's just personal preference. I've even tried some of the more classic saddles and I don't like them. This is probably my favorite ones. So the pickups are different for a reason. Like these are lace sensor pickups, which are a specific type of single coil pickups that are not noiseless, but they have less noise than regular single coils, and they have a different tone, because I've compared it to a pretty decent Strat with classic Strat pickups, and these sound quite a bit different. Even though they do still sound like a Strat, they sound different. So I think that the pickups in the black one sound a bit more close to a classic Strat. At least the single coil ones. The humbucker is just a humbucker. So I think we should go through some crunchy tones with both guitars and see if the difference in price is even, you know, noticeable in a medium crunchy kind of tone setting. Obvious difference here is the output of the pickups. This is a humbucker which outputs a lot more than the single coil in the bridge of the green guitar. So that doesn't necessarily tell you if one bridge is better than the other, but my feeling when I was playing is that the other one was just a lot more open, more clear, had more punch. This one is a bit more dull. Still fine, but compared to a expensive one, not as good. So let's check out just a little bit of neck with the crunchy tone and see what it sounds like, and then we'll move on to some heavier tones. Okay, there's a bit of a difference in the tone there. I mean, you can hear it when just listening to the clips, but this one consistently is just fuller, bigger, more open, and just feels better to play. I guess one thing to note is that I have set up this guitar with 1149 strings versus the other one has 1046. So there is a difference in the feel of playing them just because of the strings are different. I personally prefer these strings, which kind of makes me biased in this test, I guess. But I still think that this one is just a more stable and more solid guitar, so that it just feels better in my hand. So I think next is just, you know, try out some heavier tones, try out some cool riffs, and see if there's a big difference. I mean, there should be a difference because of the humbucker versus the single coil. This single coil has a lot of bite, so I'm guessing this one will have more punch, more like edge over the other one. The other one is going to be a lot more dull, I think, but we'll see. For the price of whatever it is, 80 bucks, 70 something bucks, this one really does it really does compete, you know. It's insane. Obviously the more expensive one is a better one. It is a better guitar. It's just obvious. It's just better built. But still, this one really surprised me. Especially since the day I opened it, opened up the box it came in, I was overwhelmed by the look, but underwhelmed by the performance because of those thin strings and a bad setup. So I think a bunch of people who will buy this guitar will think that it's not that good, but if you go through a little bit of a setting up, it's gonna surprise you, like it did me. So in the end, this was just like a casual comparison between a high-end guitar and a cheap guitar. Both are good. One is a lot better, but like this one is still good. So I'm not going to tell you to choose either one. It's just like a fun thing to check out, I guess. I mean, I guess I'd like to know what you think. Did you think that this one sounds decent compared to the other one? Or do you think it doesn't sound good, or what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Please consider subscribing, so until next time, stay tuned.